Here we go, Scrapper. Is it back? Is it back indeed? Well, it's the evening, I had some time and I thought I wanted to talk about this very quickly, and this is a build that you might want to try out and the reasons I'm going to mention why. Now, I did try Scrapper at the beginning of the patch release, but without understanding some of the key things that had been changed. One of the major changes was about protection being able to remove many more conditions than I realized, because I was always in a 1v1 or a 2v2. Now in a team fight situation and the support role, which is what this is meant to be for, team fighting he is king. Like support wise, he is not, well, different to Firebrand, but extremely survivable and with a ton of protection uptime, which means a lot of condition removal and a lot of defense, which is awesome, which then in turn produces a lot of boons. So why is this build good? Let's go through it, okay? And really, like, a lot of credit for this build goes to Akujin as well. We would have got there and we kind of did play it, but we didn't play it in the right situation, and there was some other stuff here which, you know, he made me think about a lot more, and something in addition to what he said as well, and spoken about, which I'm going to talk about as well, which is the addition or change to Medic Gyro, and not necessarily sticking to this, and maybe the benefits of not staying with this at all and using the healing turret. Okay, so let's go over the build. And what is it? It's a support bunker build for Scrapper. Now, this is what it was like before. It was a bruiser, it was a support, it was relatively okay in terms of damage, and then they nerfed Shock Shield, which done a ton of DPS, and then it became definitely more support in terms of using things like Stealth Gyro, of course, getting the reses, which were very successful back in the day, especially on things like Ellie, which could move. If you stealthed, you know, and they were downstated, they can mist and they can move to somewhere else. It could always get that res up, especially in Tempest, which is why that was so powerful. Ellie isn't used as much as it used to be, or at the moment. That could change. Weaver has obviously got a little bit stronger here and there, but still not seeing it that much out there because it is a little bit more complicated to play. It feels like you need to learn piano or something similar to be able to be successful. So, we are very tanky. Yes, we are indeed. We can use the gyro, function gyro to res and to down enemy opponents. Hammer, of course. Sigil of Cleansing, for the obvious reasons. Remove one condition when you swap to this weapon while in combat, in addition to the already insurmountable amount of conditions. Scourge was horrible. And the reason why I like this build is because I can support and do well versus a Scourge. I can even, in the 1v1s, beat a Scourge because of my boons and stuff that are coming out as well, or they'll just leave. On hit, remove conditions. So always removing conditions. Could be a little bit of overkill, but it is very, very, very much built on survival for yourself. And you could go for something else. One of these changed, but not both of them. Rune of Water, healing, boon duration. Then you've got the 25% when struck to remove a condition. And then you've got the plus 15% boon duration. When you use a healing skill, you and nearby allies are healed for a small amount. And that cooldown is for 10 seconds. So that's actually really, really strong itself. Mendo's Amulet as well, power, precision, vitality, and healing power. Not fully tanky, but it gives you a bit of HP and healing power, of course. Don't forget that you are susceptible to power damage. So if you get bursted, there are going to be situations where that will occur, especially if, you know, mesmers are a thing, especially on the NA at the moment, because they're a lot more bursty than they were. And this counters, you know, I would say at the moment, all condi builds. Not one condi build, but all of them. I mean, that annoying thief build, for example, the mesmer, the mirage build, the Scourge build, which you can remove as many conditions as you like through that sandshade. I tanked through an entire almost 2 sandshades today. I did die in the end because you should, but it is pretty ridiculous. And I'm wondering if they're going to nerf it, but I don't know if they can nerf it. And at the end of the day, it's a very supporty build. I'm not going to kill anyone with it. It's got one role. It's not like the Firebrand when I'm constantly spamming out resistance, stability, and everything else. It's just ridiculous condi remove. That condi remove is mainly for myself, by the way. But that survival means I can bunker on a point and support and res my teammates and down opponents and offer pressure. And you're going to see why in a very, very, very quick moment right here. So there were a lot of changes in a lot of these traits, mainly alchemy, inventions, and scrapper, because it was a lot about the scrapper and bringing it in line with everything else and trying to make those other elite specializations, you know, a little bit more important. And it felt like this was a world v world PvP patch for an engineer. It's not for PvE. Other than, you know, if you want to run around in open world, it's not really for raid. I guess to a degree, it could be for raiding if you really want to be a support, you know, scrapper. But at the end of the day, who wants to support scrapper? They would rather have someone that just purely heals and purely does all these things that you want, you know, a support to do. So yeah, I mean, I don't think so, but I guess you can if you want to. Maybe in fractals, I don't know. Good for rezzing and whatnot, I suppose, as well. And again, yeah, there's been a lot of changes. So my first thought, when I was playing this build, obviously, if I wanted to be a tankier support, I go for automated medical response. Now this obviously is probably going to be what you want to use, especially in emergency situations. Why do people always put down Chaos Storm everywhere? They just use it all the time. Swiftness, eh? There's two options here, especially Zan, who is playing the Holosmith meta kind of 1v1 build at the moment, which I'm not a massive fan of, because like, I think mainly the focus has been on for that build to be on 1v1s, but the classes that are doing it very, very well anyway, like Druid and Warrior. Maybe the Holosmith can do it a little bit better than Warrior, but at the same time, Druid is still doing it well. So I think in that situation, I think Engineer is kind of pushed a little bit out of that role. I think, you know, he is obviously a very, very different... it's definitely kettle of fish, because Zan is Zan and Zan is a beast, and he could probably beat God if he was playing anything in Guild Wars 2, but you know, that depends on a couple of things. Anyway, let's talk about the builds. I'm enjoying this build, that's why I'm playing it at the moment. I need to practice the other one. It's a lot more difficult, which is probably another reason why I like playing this. So let's go for it. Inventions, cleansing synergy, so use a healing skill, triggers a cleansing pulse around you. Now this does, of course, come in later on throughout the rest of the build, but I'll show you. Automated medical response, of course, at 25% health, you will be able to get another heal back. So make sure you're always using your heal before you 25%, otherwise you will not get that second heal. And heals are very, very important, specifically because of things like when we get up here, which is what I'm going to tell you about in a moment. So 25%, if you've used your heal, you get another one. If you don't use your heal before you hit 25% HP or under, you're going to waste an entire heal, which you don't want to do. Next one, grant protection to nearby allies when you use a heal skill. So, right now, this heal is not offering protection. You can't see it. Obviously, it's not augmented by the traits, which is unfortunate. It should really be in there. When I put my heal down, I will get protection, but I'm already getting vigor, of course, and regeneration there as well. So, awesome. You're going to see why that's important in a moment, and it's to do with removable conditions, and this is why it's an epic build. Turrets create a reflective barrier when built and grant boons to allies when around them on a regular intervals. So you're granting vigor from the healing turret, but what else have we got here? This is why we've got vigor, regeneration, and protection. We have a thumper turret. Now, thumper turret is what Zan was using in his build, and that gives you protection. And not only does it give you, how long does it give you protection for? 4 seconds. Pretty good. Okay, so that's 4 seconds of protection as well, but also on regular interval, 10 seconds. There you go, every 10 seconds. So that's pretty good. So that's going to be able to give us that protection every 10 seconds. What else? Your healing power is increased while you have regeneration. So then our healing power goes up to 1475. So let's take it off. Remember that you're doing a lot of healing through this build. A lot of, you're issuing out regeneration, and now through the balance patch and everything else, the highest stack of regeneration in terms of that's being delivered to your teammates is going to be the one which they received, because sometimes when you received regeneration, it wasn't from the original point where it's being released to the rest of your team, it wasn't the highest stat in terms of like the amount of healing you were getting from regeneration. Like you could be getting it from free sources, and you'd be like, oh, this regeneration tick is healing me for 10 healing. This one's healing me for 20. This one's healing me for 30. Sometimes you wouldn't get the 30, you get the 10, or you get the 20. According to where, you know, maybe how their proximity to you or a bug or whatever. So now it makes sure it gets you the maximum, the highest regeneration tick from your team that's being produced. So that's really, really fantastic as well. So healing is even stronger now because it's actually working as it probably was intended. If you don't understand that, then please ask in the comments and I will explain it more. I'm rushing this a little bit because it's very, very late at night. I just want to get this out there. Let's go for the rest of the traits. Here we go. And how much? Yeah, it says plus 250 anyway. So it goes down to 1225. And then obviously we have the big one. This is anti-corrosion plating. When you grant protection to an ally, cleanse conditions from them. Turrets create a reflective barrier when built and grant boons to allies around them on regular interval. We've got protection here. We've got protection here. That's 2 at the moment, and an extra one if we need it again over here as well. So, protection. This is 1 condition removed when you issue a stack of protection out. So if I release this to my teammates, that's a ton of conditions removed. So it's 1 person, 1 condition removed, 1 protection applied. If that makes sense. So if I'm here, we've got conditions going down. And this is 1. Now this is one, I guess the one thing I haven't really been able to test. Maybe you guys could tell me as well. Because it's still early on, it's been a weekish. When you grant protection to an ally, cleanse conditions from them. So obviously, you know, I'm giving myself protection, and that person is getting a protection as well. Now I get 1 condition removed from myself, and they should get also a condition removed from them, as far as I know. I know 100% that happens to me, but I'm not sure if it 100% happens to them, because sometimes it doesn't seem to be the case. I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work. But all I know is that if I've got all my teammates around me and I pop down a thumper turret, and I get a ton of condition removal. I get a ton of condition removal. And don't forget that when you have that down, it spawns again and it gives protection again. But obviously you're not going to have it for that long. So you probably want to put down your thumper turret, remove conditions, issue protections. Not only are you saving yourselves from condition damage pressure, you're actually reducing a ton of damage as well. Because don't forget this protection. It's minus like a third of the incoming damage coming into you, which is 33%. So again, that's pretty good. Boon radius is 600. That's, you know, a cap. It's good. It's not bad at all. You're saving yourselves. You're saving your teammates. That's a big amount of condition removal. That's pretty much one of the main reasons why it's so epic. Other than that, you know, you're going to get that 25% heal. You could also use the smoke bomb for defense, which is more in the Zan build, which is being used before, but it's still very, very useful, especially because a lot of the time I'm finding, because of the amount of healing power I have and the healing power I have, I actually don't end up, I don't think I'm really using my turret at all. Like I'm normally just picking it up. I'm not blasting it a lot. I'm not actually blowing it up to get that burst of healing. If I need to, then I will, but majority of the time I'm picking it up, and then 15 seconds later I've got another protection. I've got more protection here as well, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, whether or not it's ridiculous is another thing, but again, it is, I feel, susceptible to power damage. Now there is another thing which we can think of here as well, which I know people are probably screaming about because it's Scrapper, and I might be forgetting about the heal, but guess what? I've not forgotten about the heal. And also, don't forget, the traits have changed. We've got Barrier and Scrapper now, which we wanted before as well, and using your heal skill grants you Barrier. Boom! 3,774 with these stats of Barrier on top of your HP for that amount of time. Not long, obviously. It needs to be in combat for a little bit longer, but it's very, very useful, especially for that power damage. So even though you don't have toughness, you still have a little bit of a buffer in terms of, you know, your HP and everything else that's coming in. Now, you can have other options, of course, for giving you, some kind of protection or things like that. You know, you've got bulwark gyro, obviously, which reduces damage as well. It's a bit like protection, but it doesn't give you protection. I almost feel like this should give protection instead. But to be fair, you know, probably not great right now because otherwise this would be ridiculous. Alchemy. Let's go through this quicker. I said I was going to do this quicker. Drink an elixir B when struck below the health threshold. Yeah, cool. You get buffs and boons. Awesome. Gain protection when you are disabled. So if you're disabled, and that's going to be pretty good. You know, I mean, well, this is when you grant protection to an ally cleanse conditions, but still you get protection. Still nice. Elixir C. This is bugged at the moment. It's previous. Is actually. The old one, unless they fixed it, this is still bugged, I think. When basically you take a condition in, you have a chance to convert it into a boon instead. I think that's been changed. Elixir S, again, this is something which can be changed depending on the composition of verses. Drink Elixir S when you're struck while below the health threshold. Of course, very, very powerful. But now as this has come in, the comeback cure, so grant regeneration whenever you remove a condition from an ally, which is going to be permanent. You're going to be permanently getting extra regen throughout this build from playing as well. Just generally, this build is going to be ridiculous. Your healing is going to be out you know, pretty strong. And then compounding chemicals. Heal yourself when you grant a boon and gain increased concentration, which obviously is a very, very nice stat to have. And then we've got a few changes here in the traits. Now, that was alchemical tinctures before, which is when you throw an elixir or you consume one, you remove a condition and whatnot. That changed, which is why now elixirs are not really a thing, because they only gain reduced recharge and increased durations and gain mites. So now it's not as useful, unfortunately. So now you've got these two newer grandmasters. I can't remember what the other ones were called now. Jesus. Purity of Purpose and Iron Blooded. Now, Purity of Purpose, when you would cleanse a condition from an ally, convert it into a boon instead. So not only are you removing conditions for your teammates, but you are converting them into boons. So you are making them even stronger. So you're healing them, you're removing conditions, and you're giving them boons from those conditions removed. It is very, very strong. It is very, very tanky. It's fantastic. It's a great build. I mean, you could even go for this if you want to, but I don't know why you would, because you can just get boons. I mean, you know, you might be able to convert that a lot of the time. You can convert that vulnerability into protection as well, and this is what the whole build is about: is protecting, surviving, healing, support, and condition removal and conversion. Now that's great. Scrapper then, of course, as well. Function gyro. Don't forget that you can use this to res your teammates. You can also use it to down your opponents. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you click your ally on the screen, it will 100% work every time. If you don't, sometimes it has an issue. Remember, using your heal skill grants you a barrier. When you successfully revive an ally or finish an enemy, you grant barrier now, because that's changed, and grant speed to nearby allies. So you get even more mitigating damage there as well when you're trying to get that revive at the end of the revive, and then rapidly regenerate health while affected by swiftness or super speed. Of course, you know, that's coming from that mainly. It's not the best, but you do get swiftness from other places. This hasn't got the most speed in the world, this build. You can get it, of course, if you blast the fields, of course, and you do have a significant amount of blasts if you want to build that swiftness up. Barriers you receive are stronger, and then you've got gain barrier when struck, reduced incoming condition damage while you have barrier. So you even through the Scrapper build, and while having barrier, which I forgot about as well, is even stronger. And they did give you a small barrier through shock shield, so block attacks while striking foes in front of you, gaining barrier with each enemy you hit. Boom. That's pretty flippin' awesome. How much barrier did we get the other day? I can't remember. There's 1,651. I think we got a little bit more than that. It scales. Does it scale with healing power? I think it does, as far as I remember. I might be wrong about that. This is just off the wall kind of done. So remember, and again, that barrier is going to be stronger, and then you reduce incoming condition damage while you have barrier as well. So condition damage reduced by 20%, so you want to be trying to keep that barrier up as much as possible. And if you're with a Scourge and you're 2v2, that barrier should be assisting you. So now really, I feel like the Scourge and the Scrapper 2v2 is just going to be like, I hope anyway, will be a thing. Whether or not they change some of this build because it might be too strong, I don't know. I'm not convinced right now that it's going to be... I think people can work around it. I think there's going to be a lot of power that can come in. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I suggest that if you want to try a lot of condition removal, you've been hating Scourge so much that you just want to survive against one of those bastards in a 1v1, then do it. Like, this build is going to help you so much. Don't stand in the sandshade still. It's not supposed to be meant to be one of those, you know, roll your head on the keyboard build. It's still, you know, you do need to be using your abilities. You do need to be using them appropriately. Another thing is that about the gyro here, which I didn't even mention earlier, is the fact that Reconstruction Field already gives you protection. Which is pretty good as well. Grant protection to allies in this area. So when you apply protection, remember that you're removing those conditions from your allies. And you remove one condition for the allies that are in the area. So that's fantastic. So you can remove 4 or 5 conditions. And then obviously you've got more protection. You can just remove, all the things. It's really, really good. Really strong build. And don't forget, where is it as well? Heal yourself when you grant yourself a boon. So you're granting yourself a boon because you're removing protection. You're removing conditions with protection, and then this is being applied when you cleanse a condition from an ally. You convert it into a boon, and then you heal yourself when you grant yourself a boon, and you gain increased concentration. This fucking circle of life right here in this build is crazy. And you're not even using your heal there, and then you've got your heal, and then you've got the protection once again. And then if you go below 25% health, if you're using this trait, you will get the other heal as well. Thing is, with turret, it's down 15 seconds. You actually have it for 15 seconds if you pick it back up. Do not forget about that. So try both of these heals. Let me know how they go. And obviously when you're removing conditions, which was my initial point with Purge Gyro, you're removing those conditions. And when you heal yourself, when you grant yourself a boon, gain increased condition. Remember, this is all so linked. I'm just excited about it. So what I said there was a little bit incorrect, but I'm just happy. Protection, remove conditions, heal yourself. It's a circle of life. Conditions for a Scrapper are, he just brushes them off. There's his shoulder. He's doing that. Can you hear that? Probably can't. It's just me brushing it off my shoulder. Alright guys, enjoy the day. Play some Scrapper. Give it a bash. It's pretty awesome. If there are any variations to this or anything you think, you know, is it too healing intensive? Is it too condi removal intensive? Is it not? Is it bad? Is it crap versus, like, you know, all these power builds and stuff that are coming out right now? Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Again, credit kind of goes to many people, as well as Akujin, who's one of the main people who have been playing this build recently. Again, we'd kind of played it a little bit, but didn't really realise how strong it was until Akujin brought it up on today's stream. So I want to say thank you to him and other engineers that we've been talking to about this, and I will see you next time.